Buying property in the Savannah Historic District is an inverted real estate market. In standard residential transactions, modern construction and autonomous control are prized. Here, they are penalized. Maximum value is achieved through strict adherence to 18th century rules. The macroeconomic foundation of this historic core is its absolute geographic boundary. The district is entirely finite. No new historic homes can ever be created, establishing a hard permanent ceiling on supply. This scarcity dictates the immediate market reality. Inventory levels frequently hover around a deeply entrenched 1.5-month supply, forcing buyers to compete in a permanent seller's market. The underlying value of a Savannah historic home has completely decoupled from standard construction costs. The price is inextricably linked to architectural provenance and strict regulatory compliance. But treating the historic district as a uniform market is a mistake. The performance metrics splinter drastically depending on whether a property sits in the northern or southern tier. This chart illustrates the pricing divergence across Savannah's micromarkets. On the left, the North Historic District shows a massive gap between aspirational pricing and reality. The median listing price sits at $1.5 million, yet the median sold price drops to $699,300. Move to the right side of the chart, and the South Historic District demonstrates a much tighter spread. Sellers here realize significantly higher closing values, with the median sold price reaching $1.2 million. That severe variance in the north occurs when sellers overestimate the premium of their location and collide with the hard reality of extreme rehabilitation costs required to bring older properties up to code. Successful underwriting in this environment requires ignoring broad metropolitan averages. Investors must execute hyperlocal, block-by-block micro-market analysis. General Oglethorpe's 1733 city plan, seen in this 1855 map, anchors Savannah's real estate value. The foundational unit is the ward, a multi-centered 600-foot neighborhood around a central square. North and south are large residential tithing blocks. East and west are smaller civic trust blocks. Original 60-foot tithing lots were subdivided into 20 and 30-foot increments, creating dense row houses. These blocks are bisected by lanes. Properties abutting lanes possess a massive market advantage, providing the only legal path for private off-street parking and carriage houses. This 18th century utopian military grid operates as a rigid legal framework today. It directly dictates 21st century property rights, density limits, and parking availability. Buyers entering this market are acquiring defined, structurally distinct 18th and 19th century forms. Modern open-concept floor plans are exceedingly rare. Because the city sits on a high water table and experiences frequent flooding, 19th century builders utilized a high raised basement. The main living floor was elevated to the second story, accessed by a sweeping high stoop, to keep the primary parlors dry. This table outlines Savannah's architectural eras. A property's style, like severe federal symmetry or heavy Italianate ornamentation, dictates legally preserved features. Southward in the Victorian district, asymmetrical massing and intricate gingerbread trim introduce structural complexity, completely altering the asset's maintenance profile. The architectural typology of a Savannah home acts as a binding legal blueprint. It dictates the property's proportions, its scale, and the specific craftsmanship required to steward it. Much of the historic premium is derived from endemic materiality. These are regional building components that are virtually impossible to source today and highly cost-prohibitive to replicate. Authentic Savannah Grey Brick is among the most coveted materials in the South. These oversized, gray-hued bricks were hand-formed from local river mud by enslaved laborers exclusively at the Hermitage Plantation prior to the Civil War. Surviving examples of these are exceedingly rare. Builders also utilized Tabby, an ancient coastal concrete composed of equal parts lime, sand, water, and crushed oyster shells. The presence of authentic structural tabby in a foundation or garden wall is a premier hallmark of antiquity. The city's ironwork serves as a timeline. Early hand-forged wrought iron features subtle irregularities and nature-inspired motifs. Later, mid-19th century cast iron was mass-produced in molds, allowing wealthy merchants to project strength through heavy, repeating geometric patterns. You cannot build a new Savannah historic home.
You can only acquire and protect its surviving original materials, which act as irreplaceable historical multipliers on the property's overall market value. Ownership in the historic district comes with a foundational trade-off. The buyer willingly relinquishes absolute autonomous control over the exterior of their property. Any exterior alteration visible from the public right-of-way requires a Certificate of Appropriateness, or COA, from the Historic District Board of Review. The HDBR is a municipal panel that enforces strict visual compatibility standards. The design guidelines are hyper-specific. For instance, painting previously unpainted historic masonry is strictly forbidden, and owners frequently must select from curated, pre-approved historic paint palettes derived from local archives to secure project approval. Beyond the city, the Historic Savannah Foundation, or HSF, wields immense private power. Properties rescued by the HSF carry perpetual preservation easements attached to the deed, requiring mandatory annual physical inspections to ensure compliance. These rigorous preservation ordinances operate as a regulatory moat. They restrict individual owner freedom, but they fiercely protect the visual integrity and corresponding premium valuation of the entire National Historic Landmark District. The ongoing operational expenditures required to maintain these assets are severe. The subtropical climate, combined with centuries-old timber frames, creates unique, expensive structural vulnerabilities. The single greatest hidden financial threat is the Formosan subterranean termite. They work silently, and repairing the severe structural failure they cause can easily exceed $37,500. Standard homeowners insurance policies explicitly exclude termite damage, viewing it as a preventable maintenance issue. This makes exhaustive wood-destroying organism, or WDO, inspections and maintaining a continuous, transferable termite bond absolutely non-negotiable prior to closing. Coastal water presents an equal threat. Chatham County is a complex patchwork of FEMA, or Federal Emergency Management Agency, flood zones. Older homes built before modern maps, known as pre-firm structures, face aggressive, federally mandated insurance premium increases as historical subsidies are phased out. The precise financial mitigation strategy is to secure an elevation certificate, proving that the historic home's finished floor sits above the base flood elevation can slash annual insurance premiums by thousands of dollars. Accurate real estate underwriting in Savannah requires modeling for extreme, specialized environmental liabilities that conventional mainland homeowners never have to face. This matrix outlines preservation tax incentives. Georgia's 25% income tax credit caps at $100,000 for residences, scaling to $10 million for commercial projects. The second row provides an 8.5-year property tax freeze. Finally, commercial investors can stack a 20% federal rehab tax credit. Structuring a purchase to qualify for these programs completely rewrites the financial viability and return on investment of an aging historic property. The primary revenue engine for Savannah investors is the booming short-term vacation rental, or STVR, market. But the regulatory environment governing STVRs is aggressive and explicitly designed to contain transient lodging. The city enforces a strict geographic quota, hard capping STVR certificates at 20% of parcels per ward. However, buyers bypass this using the owner-occupied exemption by living in the main home or by purchasing a property possessing a transferable pre-2017 grandfathered certificate. In the downtown core, the presence of a grandfathered STVR certificate or a compliant carriage house acts as a turnkey revenue stream. These properties command a massive premium over identical, unpermitted homes. Quantitative metrics, tax codes, and structural replacement costs alone cannot capture the true market valuation of a Savannah property. This premium stems from the city's intangible cultural fabric and romanticized literary landscape, immortalized by Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. Purchasing a historic home in Savannah is the ultimate high-stakes stewardship equation. Mastering the regulatory matrix and mitigating environmental risk offers the rare privilege of holding title to a living piece of American history.